with Stephanie. She's here to represent a film called I'm Still Here, which is in competition at our festival in Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.
It's such an honor to be here. I'm absolutely thrilled.
You're more than welcome. So if you could just introduce yourself either to me or the camera and tell us what your connection is to this film, and then give us a brief synopsis.
Absolutely. So my name is Stephanie Bell, and I'm the producer of I'm Still Here. The film is about child sex trafficking, specifically in the United States of America. It's the story of a young girl, Layla, who is kidnapped on the playground and is forced into the child sex trafficking world in the Los Angeles area. And it's about her fight to survive, to build a new family, to help her to survive, and to bring down basically the perpetrators of what happened to her. It goes back and forth between present day and when she was first 10 years old, and when she is left for dead basically in an alleyway after being beaten almost to death by her pimp. And she's discovered by a police officer who then helps to kind of regain her memory and try to help her find the man and bring him to justice.
Right.
So it's a film, it's a very difficult subject matter, but it has a real story of hope at the end. It's a very hopeful movie, even though it's a difficult subject matter.
So that's kind of the key here, and it's similar to a question I asked a woman yesterday who's done a short film that's quite difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was one about this, and the subject matter was to do with it's called Pickup.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it, but it's quite a difficult subject in terms of what it's about, and not connected in any way to your subject matter. And I suppose the question I posed to her, which I'm kind of posing to you, hers was from an acting point of view, or an actress point of view, is you obviously had this story land, or perhaps you're part of the story to begin with, I don't know, but I suppose what I'm trying to ask is, what made you say, yeah, we've got to do this? I know you, because you've got to take all that into account, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
You know, and I suppose you went through all sorts of, okay, how we can approach this.
Yes, actually.
So I've asked this question really badly, but you can see what I'm getting at.
I kind of get, I think I know what you're asking, and it's a great question because basically, to give a little bit of background on how the story came about and how the film actually
came about. Is it based on an actual true story?
It's based on an amalgamation
Right.
of about 10 to 15 young girls that were interviewed by Misha Marcus. So it was the first time feature film writer-director, Misha Marcus. She was going to Chapman University Film School in Orange County, California, and there was a brothel that was busted about 2 miles from where she was going to school. And she discovered at that time that there were 10-year-old girls that had been trafficked that had been brought out actually from, I think, China or from some Asian country to the United States, because that was a very Asian area of Orange County. And she could not believe that there were children in a brothel that were being sold for sex. And so
close to where she was.
So close to, in Orange County, which is a very wealthy county in Southern California. And she's like, this is the land of the free. I can't believe that this is happening in my backyard. So she started doing research. She spent a year researching, interviewing girls that had been rescued, ages 10 to 17, talking with experts in sex trafficking, talking with organizations that actually go in and rescue these children from these sex trafficking places. She spoke with a number of organizations that help work with children and young women once they've been rescued and are trying to be re-assimilated back into society. She did a lot of extensive research. So this story is actually...
And this is even before she comes to you?
Even before she comes to me.
Right,
she spent a year and then she wrote the script. And then she found some private investors and she said she knew she had to tell this story, and she told it in a very specific way. This film, I believe, is very unique from all the other stories that are about sex trafficking because it's told from the point of view of this young girl, Layla. It's her world. We are immersed in her world. We're not in the world of the people that are trying to rescue and save her. We're in the world that we are living her world, which makes a very difficult film to watch. It does, one of our concerns, one of the things we're trying to be very sensitive to is the fact that there is child rape, there's molestation, there is branding. It's a violent film, but you never see the violence. It's all inferred.
Yeah,
and
I mean, like doors closing and things.
Yeah, or the aftermath. You see the aftermath of it and how she's trying to deal with what's happened to her. But she's such a wonderfully feisty character, and she believes so much in the love of her family, and she builds her own family with the young girls that she is forced to do this world with. So Misha was very specific. She had approached a number of companies about making this movie with her, but they wanted her to change it to be 17 or 18-year-old girls. It was very difficult for them to deal with the aspect of it. This is a 10-year-old child.
Because you kind of preempted what I was going to say, which the next question, sorry to interrupt, was I wonder of those original investors how many have looked at it and want to make change, or were like, well, I love it, but no thanks.
Fortunately, she was very upfront about how she wanted to make this movie.
Yeah.
And so we had one or two investors that came in and said, we're in. This is a story that needs to be told. People in America need to understand that it is a problem in America. When I was brought on board, and actually I was brought on board in the middle of the production, she had hired a producer that was not working out, and she fired him, and she brought me in, and I shut the production down, and we kind of regrouped.
Oh, to start and have a good look at it, yeah.
We kept some of the footage that we'd already shot. She'd already obviously worked with these actors and established a relationship with them, which was very important. So she trusted me to come in and basically say, we need to stop, we need to regroup.
Yeah.
And then we spent another 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks shooting it after I came on board. It took us about another month and a half after I'd come in to kind of regroup, get started, and film it again. And then we had to do some pickups and things a year later. So it took a full year. But the great thing about that was that even during that time period, we were able to do a little bit more research and reach out to some other people, older women that had been involved, and they told us some other specific things that we were then able to incorporate into the film to really add authenticity to it, which was very important for us.
And of course, the other problem that's going to go with this, or maybe it wasn't a problem, is part of the subject matter is you then got to cast people, and of course casting people, they're going to say what's the role, you're going to tell them, and I wonder, particularly with the child actor, the actors, and also even the adult ones. I mean, I wonder if any of them were like, look, I really want to do this, but actually I can't. I understand, and I see it's a really important film, but did any of them, without naming names, that you wanted to shy away, or were they just in from the beginning?
Well, that's another great question, because Misha auditioned about 300 children. And she was one of the most important things for me when I interviewed Misha to make sure I wanted to come on the project was, how was this being filmed? Were the children being safe? Were they being, were there people on set to make sure they were handling the psychological issues that could come up during the filming? And the parents were always on set. We had a studio teacher. We were very, very careful. Misha she didn't have the children read the script. She let the parents talk to the children and let the parents decide if they were comfortable enough to have their children be in the film, and then if the children were comfortable enough. And they were never told that it was about sex trafficking. The majority of the young girls believed that they were in a movie about girls that got kidnapped. So they didn't understand that it was not. So we wanted to protect them. We wanted to protect the children. Interestingly enough, Aaliyah Connolly, who plays the young Layla, very smart and very talented young girl, she read the entire script, actually. Right. She was 10 years old when she made this movie, and she, on her own, decided she wanted to read the script. And she understood what it was about, and she really wanted to be a part of it. For her, it was very important to be, she's a young girl that's now going to be hopefully helping other young girls to understand that this can happen. This is not a problem that's going away, for one, and it's a problem that's growing in our country, and we're just now learning. When Misha first started the film, child sex trafficking in particular, was not that much in the news 2 years ago. But over the past 2 years, while we were filming it, stories have been coming out all over the place. I mean, it's finally now a lot of these undercover operations that have been going on to infiltrate some of these rings or these.
And it's an epidemic, isn't it?
It's an epidemic. And as we say in the beginning of the film, by 2020, the UN predicts that by 2020, human trafficking, will surpass illegal arms and illegal drugs as the #1 illegal activity and industry in the world. And I didn't know it happened in the United States. I was one of those people like, take it. It happens in Europe. It happens in Europe. It happens in other parts of the world. And this is why Misha wanted to make this movie, and she wanted to tell it from this point of view, which is this is happening in your own country. I used to, I'm a stepmom. I've never had my own children, so I never had to worry about the fear of, your child walking home from school and being lured in by a man on the street with puppy dogs. But one of the things that we also learned, and that I think is very important to stress about this film and this topic, is that 90% of child sex trafficking in the world is done by a parent, a brother, a family member, or someone that's close to the family. It is our film is
Because I
about a
always
girl gets
assumed it was
kidnapped.
always the strangers that the connection was.
You always think that's kind of what Hollywood makes it, and so we're trying to make sure that's how this happens to this young girl. But 90% of sex trafficking in the world happens by people that you know or that you love. And so that's another story to a certain degree, but in this film we have that element to it. And Misha was so meticulous in her research, and she really wanted to, as I said, she really wanted to be authentic about how this happened. So, I don't want to give away too much of the film, but Layla gets lured away by this young girl who says, "I've lost my dog."
Yeah.
So she goes to try and help her find it, and then they're drugged. They turn, and one of the other problems with this industry is that once you turn 17 or 18 years old, you become a criminal in the justice system. So instead of being the victim that these young girls are, a lot of the girls that are now prostitutes in their 18 and into their 20s and 30s, they were sex trafficked. They were started at a young age, become drug addicted. You have the Stockholm syndrome. A lot of them were made to believe that their families abandoned them, they weren't loved anymore, or that they were being protected and they had to help out the family. This is how they were helping the family survive. In a lot of parts of the world, you've got 10 to 12 children. They can't afford to live, so they have trafficked they sex traffic their child. The deep dark web has made this a very, very easy access to people that know how to get to it, and it involves doctors, lawyers, nurses, judges, businessmen, clergymen, entertainment industry people. In Riverside County, where I live, in 2016, there were 253 people that were arrested that were involved in a sex trafficking ring, and it involved children and adults. So it's mind-boggling, really, and it's hard when you get into this world. It changes your viewpoint on the world.
Because it's got to have affected you. I know you're trying with all these things, not remain aloof. That's not the word I'd use, but try and remain dispassionate in terms of, because you need to make a project. But I don't see how you can't be.
Yeah, it's hard.
This could have been, I guess, a documentary, couldn't it? Was that something that she thought about, do you think?
It would have been hard for her to do this as a documentary, because she would have had to try to infiltrate
Yeah.
the world of these people. From the story that she's telling,
Yeah.
there was no way for her to get into that world and be there. So that's why she really depended on the stories of these young girls. One of the things I think that was really unique about this and was hard, was what made it difficult for her to make the film, was the fact that she was trying to let people understand that this is a really gritty, horrible thing. And it's a little bit in your face. The film is a little bit in your face, and she wanted it to be that way because it's kind of like a shock factor to let people know, we have to start, it's up to us to start being vigilant about that, to start being aware of our surroundings. Nowadays they're finally training airline attendants
spot the signs,
to spot the signs of that.
Yeah.
Because any city that has an international airport, it's going on there. Houston, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, Atlanta, huge. And these people, they don't even sometimes leave the airport. They come in, they do their dirty deeds with these young children, then they leave. They fly out. They don't even have to leave the airport to do this kind of thing. So, and that's internationally, but here in the United States, it's happening. It's happening in your backyard. It's the film Room, where you have that woman that she was basically in a little I don't remember, it was like a barn or something, like a shed that was back behind this guy's house, and it's happening in next door. I live in Palm Springs, in Palm Desert, which is a very, very wealthy area. Palm Springs. In one of these apartment complexes, there was a girl that escaped, 16 years old, that was being trafficked. And I had a friend who actually lived in that building and
no clue.
Seen them, had no idea. Thought heard fights and arguments going on, and thought, oh, it's just people fighting with each other. They didn't realize it was actually this girl trying to escape, and she finally, I don't remember the details of how she got out, but the 10 freeway, big child sex trafficking freeway. It's a huge industry. It's a $300 billion industry in the world. $300 billion. Not just sex trafficking, but human trafficking in general.
Trafficking per se, yeah. And when you were, what kind of distribution model? It sounds a bit of an odd question, but again, it's to do with the kind of audience that you want to see this. Obviously, you want as many people as possible to see this film, but forgive me for saying this, I can't imagine it's been the traditional kind of film you'd see in a cinema, for instance. So what sort of went through your minds in terms of, okay, we're going to make this film, but who is it that we're trying to get in front of everyone? But in reality, what's
audience.
the model we're going to put in place to try and what's the platform? I guess
Right.
is the question I'm asking.
Well, again, another great question, because we really did, when I came aboard with Misha and I asked her what she wanted to do, and again, as you say, she wanted to get it to as wide an audience as possible. The goal of the film has always been to raise awareness, and so she was really important for her that we do the festival route first.
Yeah.
And we've been very lucky. We've gotten into 26 film festivals so far. It's only the beginning of the process for us. We've won 16 awards for the film. And they've been in small film festivals. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't gotten into the larger film festivals, partially because first-time feature film writer-director.
Yeah.
No name actors, which is very hard when you want to get into Canada, those kinds of things. But for us to get into Nice, this film festival, for us, the first international film festival, huge for us, because Nice is a very important port. You're right in your can. It's an opportunity for us to be able to finally reach an international audience, to let them know that it's not just a problem in America, but in other countries in the world. So the idea was to do the festival route first, to really be able to get a ground base that we could work from.
Yeah.
And then we've had some interest from some distributors. We'd love to, of course, get a theatrical release. That might be a little bit difficult just because of the subject matter and because of the names.
But you took all that into account.
We took all that into account. So the idea was to get either onto an HBO if we could, one of the big cable networks, or to do like a Lifetime. We've been approached by some of the BET, some of these other companies, that to be able to get it out into the world. It does have a lot of a foul language to it, so that would be easy enough to kind of bleep out. So hopefully we'll be able to get it into some of these television networks that will be able to, to be able to disseminate out across the United States and hopefully across the world on a VOD platform.
So I would love to know, in particular, the reaction from white middle class people to the film. The ones that, like me, of course I know it goes on. White middle class, particularly the ones that are not ignorant of it, the ones that aren't aware this is happening, because to me that it would be their reaction of seeing this film. So what kind of reaction have you? I'm using it as a slice of demographic, but you can see why I'm using it as a slice of demographic.
Yeah. I think, it's shock. The first thing that comes out of these people's mouths to me after they've come out of the festival, the filming rather, is I had no idea this was happening in our country. I can't believe it. Young white girls are the commodity. They are the precious commodity. They're worth the most value. Obviously, every ethnicity is victimized by this, and believe me, it happens among some well-to-do people. There, don't think that it's just the poor people that are sex trafficking their children. There's a woman recently, that was sex trafficking her 2-year-old child. Because she knew that she could get money on the web, that she would have. She thought, well, I'll do it once, have the 2-year-old child, have this man come in and have sex with it. It was an undercover sting. Have them come in, I'll videotape it, and then I can sell it to make money. So people look at this as a commodity. So it was a real shock, and it was a shock for me because again, as I mentioned, I had no idea that this was happening in our country.
Yeah, as I say, from it's dare I say it's a little bit more known about in the UK.
Yeah, is it? Okay.
I think, but I think that's because of our location to Europe.
Right.
Okay, because I'm not being funny, we're 25 miles across the sea, and trafficking is quite well known about. And when I say trafficking, I mean it doesn't have to be necessarily sexual.
Sure.
So I don't know but you often hear cases where they, I don't know, break down the door to a house and there's 50 girls in there, or they open a container and there's 100 people. So we know it goes on, but even so, that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still, to hear you talk about it, it's still like bloody shocking statistics.
It is.
It's not just a shocking, horrific thing going on.
Yeah, and particularly because it is, it goes to children as young as 18 months old. And my whole thing too about this, honestly, Steve, is what I have a hard time understanding is how anyone could want to have sex with a 2-year-old child. Wow, the psychological damage of a person like that. I hope I offend people that maybe watch this. They might be pedophiles. I don't understand how you can find that. You can find any kind of sexual satisfaction out of that. And one of the things,
I don't.
Right? I mean, it's a sickness. And the other issue that too comes down to, and I was having a discussion last night about this. It's an endemic problem, and these are victims that have been victimized themselves, and so maybe it's all that they know. But the children cannot be the ones that are treated as the criminals.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the problem. And there's also not a lot of national organizations that are prepared to be able to deal with the psychological aspects of the damage that these children suffer from. But the other thing that, again, for Misha and I, that's so important, and Misha particularly was very important about this when she interviewed a lot of these organizations, and some of them said these are damaged goods, and no, these are not damaged goods. These are traumatic experiences these children have experienced, but they have the possibility of having a full life ahead of them. And one of the things that we are going to do,
because when you hear that, it sounds like a commodity when they're not actually. These
exactly,
are human beings.
they're human beings,
Yeah.
and with psyches that people go through all kinds of traumatic stress, and they can recover from that. One of the things from us that's very important is that we let people know that when they go into this movie that if you've experienced this, then 1 out of 4 women will have suffered from rape or sexual abuse in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So we want to be sure not to trigger those kinds of emotional PTSD experiences, because it's very hard to recover from that. So we're trying to now we want to make sure that we warn people that if you know of someone or if you've experienced it, this may not be the film for you to watch, because it's very emotionally painful to watch, because you're seeing what happens, you're seeing the aftermath, you're seeing the results of what happens to these children. We never ever show any physical
No, it's tastefully
abuse.
filmed, we should point out,
Yeah. But one of the things that we're going to do, our goal is to start an organization that uses the arts as a way of helping these children to work through this trauma and heal. And the arts are an incredibly beautiful way of self-expression, whether it's acting, dance, writing, music, any of those art forms that will help them to kind of exercise, as it were, the demons, and write about their experiences, or kind of get those experiences exercised from them, so that they can move on with their lives and have a healthy mentality about, and hope, and know that there are people out there that love them. That the trust is the biggest issue, because these people, their trust has been so damaged because it's someone that they love. I mean, how do you recover from that? It's a long process, but we want people leaving this movie feeling like you can do that. You can reconnect with your family, and you can find a new family that can support you and love you and help you to move on and have a life of fulfillment and love and happiness. And there are women that do that. We're Facebook friends with a lot of these women that have gone on and lived amazing lives, and they go on to fight this and become actively involved in helping to rescue or create organizations. GEMS is an organization, I believe, was founded by a woman who had experienced this, and it's very important to her that she works with organizations and people that really understand that that you have to teach these people, help these survivors to go out in the world and learn the skill set to be able to go and do that, because a lot of them fall back into it. They have Johns or the Stockholm syndrome, and they believe that this is the only person that loves them now, and they're doing that out of love. So the men and the women, because it's not just men, that twist the psyche of these children, and young adults. 16 years old, but you're still a young adult. You're not fully formed. You don't understand. You're looking for love all the time. I know as a 16-year-old, I was, who doesn't want to be loved? And so when you have someone that betrays that trust and that love, how you deal with that psychologically I can't even fathom, honestly. So it's very important.
Stephanie.
Steve,
thank you very much.
So
Wonderful.
much. Wonderful talking with you again. Thank you so much for including us in this festival and for part of this. It's really been a terrific festival. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Layla, Christian, get over here. I can't keep my eye on both of you running in different places.
Are you okay? I can't find my dog. I can help you look for him. There he is. Where? He's under the car. Can you see him? I don't see.
Just got a call about a girl who was left for dead. They think she's a victim of child trafficking.
Another one?
This is your new sister, Layla.
I'm Detective Amy Walker. I know you can't talk now, but you will.
Today's a very special day for you. Layla, say hello to Mike.
The more time we lose on this, the colder the trail will be to catch whoever did this to you.
Come with me.
What?
Layla, he'll kill you if you stay.
He took a sweet, innocent trusting little girl and changed her.